Good morning. It is 7 a.m. Eastern, and it is time for Thrive, turning uncertainty to competitive advantage. I have a really, really special guest this morning and a very important topic. Welcome to the program, Gennady. How are you this afternoon? It is this afternoon in Ukraine, correct?
Exactly. It's 2 o'clock here, and we still, would you believe it, have air raid siren.
Oh,
So I'm supposed to be in hiding, but because the area was, thanks God, was experiencing just air raid sirens, but there were no nearby bombardments apart from some 70 kilometers from here, which is pretty close, to be honest. I'm okay, but it's something which we had already probably 40, 50 of those air raid sirens. So I'm cool now, but the first one, trust me, it was probably one of the scariest thing, and especially when you have to think about your kids.
yeah.
And we were going into special sort of room or corridor without windows, and we were waiting until the siren is off. So what I'm saying that it's not Tarantino movie. It's not something which
Yeah.
really some people can, associate, but it's real life, and it's surreal because everything seems to be normal,
Yeah.
and it's not.
And it's not. All right, I'm going to hit the video. We're going to start the show. And listen, you want to tune in because we are going to be getting a live update, not only on everything happening in Ukraine, but how you can help, how you can support, and something very special called the Resilience Summit. And this is the man, the myth, the legend behind that. All right. Again, welcome back to Thrive, turning uncertainty into competitive advantage. This is a really special show this morning. We're going to be talking to you about the Resilience Summit, what's going on in the Ukraine, and how you, most importantly, can get engaged and involved, because I know there are so many of our audience members that want to get engaged and involved. So, Gennady, for those listening, tell us a little bit about you, and then I want to understand how you came up with this idea of the Resilience Summit, and just in essence, what has transpired for you over the last few months.
Right. Well, I'm a former British academic. I'm Russian by origin, actually. I don't have any Ukrainian blood, would you believe it? But I feel like 100% Ukrainian now, being in Ukraine here. Yes, I'm former academics, and I've been teaching at Buckinghamshire Business School in the UK, and I was visiting professor at many universities, was teaching economics, international business, then moved to consulting world, and I was working in about 30 countries worldwide. Very interesting destinations like Jordan or Syria or Italy or Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, and it was fun. And then my life made a twist, and we were traveling with my wife, and then kids started to come.
and they will change everything.
And they changed everything. I thought, well, I'd better stop traveling, because I was at 1 year, I did 200 flights a year. And I thought, I'm sort of Clooney up in the sky, I'm cool. And now looking back, I feel it's silly. I mean, why? And then my wife is from Ukraine, from Uzhgorod. It's a western side of Ukraine. From my home, I can see Slovakian border.
Okay.
So it's 1.5 kilometers, and Hungary is very close. So that's probably one of the things which prevented bombardment of that area, because proximity to NATO countries. I think the guy is crazy, but maybe not that crazy, So yes, and so we started living, and I have two small daughters. I have grown-up children. My son is 42. Would you believe it?
Wow.
He lives in England. My daughter is 32. She just came from Vancouver back to London. I have an adopted daughter. She is 31. She lives in Prague. And I have Daria, who is 10, and Alexandra, who will be 9 soon. So I have two small. I'm a young father. Would you believe it? So
yes,
that's where I get my energy from. And then when the war started, we were skiing in Poland, and my first reaction was, "Oh, thanks God, we're out of it." And then my wife said, "No, no, no, we have to go back, and we have to help." And here, when I start talking about what I saw, my voice might break down because I think I'm traumatized myself. We came back to the country almost right after the war. I mean, the war started on 24th of February. And we thought we will help. We will help this huge influx of refugees or displaced people. Can you imagine trains were arriving to our safe part of the country from all this unsafe where military action was, about 12, 15,000 people a night. Can you imagine? It's like, and I saw this it's called evacuation trains, and they are traveling without lights in the night because they are afraid that they are going to be hit from above. It's like, is it 21st century? No, it's like, I don't know. It's something which I saw in the Second World War movie. So can you imagine that about 14 million people lost their home? They moved.
Wow.
7 million children, or every 2 seconds, a child leaves a home. So becomes displaced child. I mean, leaves his school, friends, house, and becomes displaced. I mean, I don't want to use refugees. Maybe I don't understand the word to kind of. So well, maybe I can use refugees, but they become really displaced, and they're moving to the western side of the country, and a population of about 100,000 people of our provincial small Uzhgorod, where I live now, doubled, and then surrounding areas doubled, and the schools. There are no schools now because all schools are used as their shelters for those people. And those people are so happy to live 3 families in one room or even more because there are no really facilities, not enough housing for those people. So it's like, it's a huge humanitarian crisis. And then I thought, well, how I can help? And money, I'm not a wealthy person. So, and of course I was helping here and there, but it's not good enough. And I thought, what comparative advantage I have being in Ukraine and being sort of with a British passport and having all these people behind me from very known speakers I worked before and I had been friends with for many years, like Brian Tracy, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, hey guys, what do you think if we make a big summit and you'll do it for free? Everybody who will be working here will do it for free. And then all proceeds will go to the Send Love to Ukraine, the fund which I set up, because there are stories that donations go somewhere and like everything, there is human nature. And there are some not really nice things, like, for example, this goods sometimes disappearing and find themselves on the open market. And it does happen everywhere. I've read now, I know so much about donations. So there must be control. Then I thought, well, instead of going to like Ukraine as a whole, I'd better help people I know. I'd better help shelters I know and visit. And to be honest, during 3 months we were working on this project, when I felt that I'm exhausted, I never worked so hard in my life. And it's another thing, when you work for somewhere else and you feel that some other people depend on you, you definitely work harder. We work harder because before, like for profit, yes, I would be working, but never I would be waking up at 5:30 and finishing at noon, at midnight, at 12. Yes, and then when I felt that my energy level goes down, I go to the shelters and I see these children. And in fact, on my site, Send Love to Ukraine, which you can see the movie. It's 5 minutes movie we did. It's an authentic movie, interviewing children about the war, about what do they mean, how do they understand resilience? Kids, of course, with the parents' permission, etc., etc. And it's heartbreaking because when you talk about millions and zillions of, let's say, kids, like 7 millions, it's okay, it's a figure. But when you talk to one girl.
Take your time.
I probably next charity fund will be to help Gennady because really, I definitely, I kind of, I'm 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And then I've been around and I saw things, but here it's just something which is unthinkable, surreal. So watch the film. I think it's a good film. It's without any dramatical thing, but the kids are talking. What does it mean to have a home? We eat there, we play.
Let's get a little bit perspective. So, for us, for those of us anywhere else in the world, but Ukraine, uh, you know, is help us understand where you are in relation to the fighting. You mentioned, at the start of this that you've had air raids and things like that. Have things moved closer to
Well,
you since it started, and you're close to the borders? As the fighting continues, how safe do you feel? It seems to be now pretty much affecting the entire country. Not that it wasn't before, but that the fighting seems to have spread all over.
yes. Well, there are only two regions in the whole country, two small stripes of land which were not bombarded. Even Lvov, some people know Lviv. It's a lovely, lovely city at the border with Poland, and that was bombarded. And in fact, when Joe Biden was in Poland, it was bombarded. I think as a sign that we can, hit. By the way, Jill Biden, First Lady, came to Uzhgorod. It was top-notch secret, and there were American security. And she came to Uzhgorod from Slovakia, I think, and she spent some time at the shelters. So the problem is recognized as the huge humanitarian kind of problem, and the involvement of First Lady really raised the profile of my small town, Uzhgorod, where I live happily. So yes, you can see, as I said, you can see side effects of the war. You don't see the war, and if you go, let's say, on our promenade and the lovely river and the beautiful alleys, you see people drinking coffee. But now it's air raid siren, so there are not many people outside. People go into the hidings. I am here with near the window, which is wrong, because if something goes, this blast can
Yeah.
in pieces. So, but kind of, it's like you're getting used to that, and that's another thing of human psychology. We're getting used to that. I mean, it's still hard to get used to these, children, but still, and I know this attention spam. I just came from London, where I was promoting the Resilience Summit, and yes, London or UK, very supportive, and there are flags of Ukraine, but mentioning, let's say, Ukraine in the mass media went down 22 times.
Wow.
You see, when it was like when it started, Russia, terrible thing, and then there's another thing in America. I know that there was a shooting which was really terrible,
Yes.
and the attention, moved there, and people have to live their life. They cannot keep the pain of the world within all the time. So that's kind of understandable. But at the same time, not completely dismiss it would be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Completely turn away. And in fact, especially for the rest of the world, I really do believe that Ukraine is a buffer between Russia and going further.
I agree.
With this insane, absolutely insane, I cannot use bad words on the program. I'm using insane. He will go further. And now when countries are suggesting, okay, give him some of your country, give him some, like French president said, well,
Yeah.
why bother, give him. And it's like, let's say somebody comes to France and somebody would say, well, can you give us Provence? Can you give us, some parts of France? It's like no big deal, And it's a big deal because it's people, it's a history. It's like you cannot do that. You cannot in 21st century go with the army, get possessions, rob people, torture them, rape them, and then feel it's all right. It's not medieval times. It's a modern century with democracy. So I do believe that countries which help, and thanks United States, by the way, it's one of the, some people like Biden, do not like Biden. I don't care. He's a
Yeah.
great guy, and he is helping. He is really helping. I'm very, very happy, and I'm very grateful. I mean, I'm not a political figure. I'm a small university professor, but I'm so grateful for Americans. And I have some friends, and all the guys, actually speakers, in fact, all of them Americans.
Yes, I noticed that as well. So speaking of that, tell us a little bit about the Resilience Summit and how you came up with the idea, the speakers involved with it, what you're hoping to do, and the audiences you're going to reach. We really want to encourage our audience. You can see you can help the children of Ukraine. Just go to sendlovetoukraine.org. The movie that Gennady spoke about there is there. It's really powerful. I encourage you to review it as well. So talk a little bit about the Resilience Summit. I mean, you've got a really great lineup, really great messages for anybody running a business or just dealing with challenges in their lives.
Exactly. So, yes, happily. In fact, because I was in the business myself, and I thought, well, I cannot just ask for money and that's it. I have to give people value. And I thought, why not to create this Resilience Summit and give people access to the world-known speakers in the area of business in uncertainty time. Our first resilience will be business in uncertainty time. And that's why, Meridith, I came to you and you said yes. I just started a phrase and you said yes. And that's that's lovely. And it's really great. I didn't have to persuade you. You said, yes, Gennady, I help. And I give what every inch of my knowledge. And that's absolutely wonderful. So I asked Brian Tracy, I asked Jeff Hoffman, founder and co-owner of Booking.com, Priceline, big guys. And they said, yes, Gennady, we will give you our talks, we'll give you our wisdom and knowledge, and people can purchase tickets. I think something starts with very, very small amount of money.
Yes.
But then you have access to these 8 people. There will be different, how can I say, prizes. They're at random selected people. There will be books with the signature, and etc., etc. So you kindly donated your book in electronic version, so we'll be using that as well. So it's going to be an interesting event on resilience. What does it mean to be resilient in business? Without any mentioning of the war. War is kind of, thanks God, not all of us, experiencing that. But how do you plan in resilience? How do you kind of support yourself? For example, what Meridith is doing is spot on resilience. It's not changing of business model. It's being resilient in business, and what do you have to do? And I think I should shut up and let you do the talking. What do you mean by the resilience? How your experience, and I know that your work is based on research. So it's not that what I think resilience is, but you've done some research and you can back up all your findings with the data. So what do you think resilience means for you?
I think that it is, when you have something as extreme as it is going on in the Ukraine, I think it is fascinating that history repeats itself. And I think it's even more fascinating that we necessarily don't learn from history, because there is so much to be gained from history. And I think that resilience is about a couple of things. It is embracing the reality. It is accepting what is. I heard years ago that that pain comes from resisting reality, not accepting it. It's the wishing things were different. And while the truth is you're dealing with what is in front of you. And when you accept the reality, the human condition is we're strong, we're tough, we're innovative. We will find a path through that and a way to recover. We have a great military term here in the U.S. called embrace the suck. And the thought is that it isn't the optimists or the pessimists that survive uncertainty, but the realists, the people who believe that it's going to all be better in 24 hours will not make it. And those who say it's doomsday every day will not make it. But those who say this is my world as it is right now, and I need to find my path through it. And I think what you have done is created a great group of speakers who can help people find the path. Because the biggest thing that I found from research was people wanted to make it through uncertainty. They wanted to make it, they didn't know what to do. And what you did was put together a group of speakers where you take that guesswork out of it and people will know exactly what to do.
Yes, yeah. Well, absolutely right. And because even now, for example, I think we all wanted to go back. Now, looking at COVID time, when there was a COVID, we thought, well, what a wonderful life we had before COVID. Now, looking, from this war perspective, I think that COVID was a blessing, was a kind of no big deal, compared to the war. So I don't know what is around the corner. So I think I have to accept what is here now and do maximum really how to make my life and life of other people better. And I think really acceptance is the first way to healing in a way.
Yes.
Because even I'm not kind of in psychology or in this, but I think it's one of the things which their doctors advise, that accepting is the when you have a trauma and grieving over it a certain time, it heals. So I think that world is not going to be the same.
No.
Yes, we're changing, world is changing. And in fact, living in uncertainty time becomes to be a permanent thing, whether we want it or not.
Absolutely.
Ecology is changing, politics are changing, economic is changing, inflation, some other things. So climate change, and there are so many things which are on the move. And one can be like, oh gosh, I cannot live here. Or another one, it's okay, it's no big deal. And what you said, I think, is absolutely correct. It's have this critical thinking, understand, yes, it's happened, but it's not the end of the world. We're resilient. I mean, history shows us we survived all the centuries, and we will survive now as well. But we have to prepare. And
yes.
Prepare means learning from the best, learning, and not just learning, because what we have now, what I found as a professor, that there are so much knowledge on internet and in people's head. Everybody knows everything, but doing.
Oh, exactly.
I myself including, I know so many things how I should start the day. I do something like I don't take my phone into my hands for the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it very stimulating, even when I know that there is something waiting for me there. No, you go and you walk barefooted if you can, and then do some jogging, do some sport, and then so all these small things, but they allow you to stay sane,
yes,
and more focused and happy.
So it's hard to believe, but we are basically at the end of the show. Tell us how people get involved with the Resilience Summit, how they can get involved in general with your organization, and how they can help not only the people of Ukraine, but most importantly, the children of Ukraine.
Yes, the children is, as I said, because I've got two small kids, became my focus. Because,
Sure.
well, people, the military help, I don't know much about that. So, but helping kids whom I see every day and is important. And can you imagine that to feed a child a day in Ukraine, 3-course meal is just $7. You feel, well, no big deal, $7, oh, easily can. But when you multiply it by 10,000 children,
yeah,
you have $70,000 a day for food only. So it's a huge. Of course, there are some other Rotary clubs, some other people helping. A lot of people open their hearts. For example, some restaurants are giving meals for free, and there are all sort of things. However, that's one of my kind of focus. And with your money, even $10, let's say $14, will feed the child for 2 days. Then basic needs. A lot of these shelters made out of schools, they don't have shower cubicles. They don't have washing machine, because we can become, as smell and look like savages after 3 or 4 days of not taking care of ourselves. And we fancy ourselves that we're so cool. No, I mean, try not to wash, for a week.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And then you have this lack of facilities. And my major focus is creation something like tent camp, or maybe on more permanent basis for children, where they can be rehabilitated from traumas, physical traumas, emotional traumas, psychological traumas, and maybe they could be taught English, or etc., etc. And there are facilities I found on that side. You'll see the land, and I made negotiations with local university, who is owner of that land. And if we can collect, my ideas, 900,000, which is like almost $1 million, but that could build a wonderful camp. And then I'm thinking of uniting that camp, with maybe some Western camps, maybe American camps when the war is over, and do this exchange. And I really want to devote myself now in channel my energy into that area, that project. So helping children to recover, because children really are the future.
They are definitely the future. Gennady, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest on the show. Cannot thank you enough for the work that you are doing. It is such an honor to be a part of the Resilience Summit. I want to encourage our listeners to go to sendlovetoukraine.org. We're going to be posting this on our social media sites all week long, and I'll be encouraged to hear how our listeners get engaged and get involved. This is truly a chance to not only make a difference, but prepare yourself for the uncertainty that all of us face going forward. So thank you again so much for your time.
It's my honor. And don't forget, it's coming very fast. It's 18th and 19th. So basically in 5 days, and yes, 4 days, we will have the first session. So please join us. And of course, I by myself wouldn't do a thing. I'm too small. But when people like you and speakers and other people, we are making a big difference, because we really there are good people and bad people. There are no nationalities.
Yes.
I believe that there are good people and those who haven't decided. Yes, there is a small group.
That's right. And we want to get those people engaged and involved. So again, thank you so much for your time this morning. Audience, go to sendlovetoukraine.org. Mark your calendars for the 18th and the 19th. Join us for the Resilience Summit. You can get engaged. You can get involved. Most importantly, you can make the difference in the life of a Ukrainian child. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.